never gonna get out of here, are we? Really?
Whoa, cool it, champ. Little peep business take care of. Something you wouldn't understand.
You know, nowadays, a lot of people like to harp on Stephen King movies, you know, the less popular ones, and overlook the fact that a lot of them he didn't even like and had nothing to do with. The same can't be said about this. Directed by the man himself, because that's the only way to get things done right.
If you want something done right, you ought to do it yourself.
Maximum Overdrive is not the worst thing Stephen King made, but it's not far off. He admitted himself that he didn't know what he was doing and was high on cocaine for most of it, leading to the rumor that a lot of it was directed by George Romero. He's never confirmed or denied it, but considering the way it was advertised, it is somewhat of an embarrassment. It definitely comes across as a movie that was not thought out in the slightest, but I think the question is, at the end of the day, does it fall into the so bad it's good category? I mean, we know it's not good or deserving of any real credit, but unlike the Shining miniseries fuck-up, it may be just stupid enough to keep you entertained, wondering how high Stephen King must have been. Well, the plot, loosely based on King's short story Trucks, definitely makes that possible, in which a comet makes all the machines come to life and turn evil because that happens. But stupidity mixed in with simplicity is not always as fun as it sounds, and can easily have the opposite effect. Does it fall into the stupidly fun category, or is it simply not as good as this kind of thing could be? Let's find out. This is the Stephen King directed Maximum Overdrive. Vehicles turn evil. That's what that means. One good thing is that at least Stephen King has this to be proud of.
This machine just called me an asshole!
Probably his best cameo to date. Moving on to the opening bit with the bridge, I feel it perfectly sets the movie's tone. People flying in and out of windshields, this woman screaming over fruit, the AC/DC van who also provides the soundtrack, and the dialogue is oddly hilarious.
Wow, far out.
Is this shit?
Just tell me this line doesn't make you want to keep watching.
That's impossible! The light's green! The crossbars never went down! Can't you see we've got a situation here?
Being high on cocaine has benefited this scene. We then see the movie's soon-to-be antagonist heading to the truck stop that, believe it or not, led to real truckers thinking it was an actual truck stop. Were they all high on cocaine? Did anybody think of this? I wonder what's gonna happen here. Oh, who would have seen that coming? Our lead, Bill Robertson, played by Emilio Estevez, doesn't get along too well with his boss, Hendershot, played by Pat Hingle, who wants him to work for 9 hours and only clock in for 8. You see, he's on parole, for reasons I'm sure are legit, meaning he can take advantage of him, and he has no problem doing it. Could your death be any less obvious? Oh, and get this, Stephen King actually wanted Bill to be played by Bruce Springsteen, and the main reason this didn't happen was because Dino De Laurentiis didn't know who he was. I'd love to know how that went down. The electric knife comes alive, attacking Wanda June, played by Ellen McElduff, so Bill kills it with a hammer. Because that's what you always do when something malfunctions, you don't try fixing it. A Little League coach is killed by a soda machine in truly hilarious fashion, and again, the scene is kind of amazing. You gotta love the mindless slaughter of children. Some movies wouldn't even think of going there, but the fact that Deke, played by Halter Graham, tries to save his coach despite him clearly being dead is funny in its own right. A kid gets flattened by a steamroller, originally meant to have a much more graphic death, and after he escapes, we meet the movie's love interest, Brett Graham, played by Laura Hannington, and a Bible salesman who picked her up, played by Christopher Murney. The truck comes to life and tries to kill them, which they pass off as hot wiring, and we meet more characters. Newlyweds Curtis, played by John Short, and Connie, played by Yeardley Smith.
Well, that's good, because I got to go to the ladies.
Can I come in and watch?
So, does that represent Stephen King done right?
I sort of enjoyed it.
They're attacked by an evil truck, have very little to say about it, and you can tell these are gonna be fun characters. It's the kind of thing that makes you wonder, what kind of cocaine was it? How high would you have to be to think this was a good direction to go in?
I sort of enjoyed it.
I legitimately don't know what to make of these two. Curtis does do something eventually, but I could definitely do without. Bill comes to the conclusion that somebody hot-wiring a truck to run over two people and then leave without being seen is not normal, and suspects something isn't right. To me, what's not right is the truck has fucking eyeballs, but it's using the mirrors. I mean, technically that does make sense, but it has eyes.
You're cute.
Okay, I know these two being together has to happen, but that's literally how it starts. I don't even know if him laughing is part of the script, or just how you'd react to that line. I mean, how could you not laugh at this? Meanwhile, Deke is attacked by sprinklers. The point of that is what exactly? And I guess some cars are okay with suicide. The kills in this scene are again pretty entertaining. I don't like to laugh at animal death, but there's just something funny about this. And for some sad reason, I'm actually impressed that he doesn't try to get ice cream. I know nobody's driving it, but for new movie standards, you can't really complain too much about this. I do feel the need to mention that an incident involving a lawnmower and wood splinters led to a cinematographer losing his eye, and this wouldn't have happened if Stephen King didn't insist upon using a real blade for realism. Because what would this movie be without realism?
I sort of enjoyed it.
I know it's a terrible thing, but you have to have the real blades. We see the blind guy is Deke's father, who insists upon going out to find him despite his impaired vision.
You leave without punching out, and you ain't never gonna have to punch out again, Bubba.
So, there's going to be a lot of lines in this movie that make you question reality. In this case, it's who gives a fuck about punching out at this point, but as long as they entertain, I'm okay with it. The dad gets immediately run down, and while that may have not been the most intelligent move, it's not quite as dumb as the salesman. I mean, not only does he think running out yelling at it is a good idea, but he legitimately refuses to be pulled away and runs in the other direction. I know he deserved it, but you gotta at least try not to get killed. The trucks surround the place, and the couple gets attacked down the road. They manage to outsmart the thing by turning, somehow causing it to pre-explode. And I know this is a stupid question, but why doesn't the car they're in turn evil?
When we get to that truck stop, everything will be all right. Oh, yes.
Like I said, a stupid question.
Yeah, maybe not.
Hey, don't go out there,
Don't, Joe.
Eat this.
Because he's fat? They manage to get inside, killing off the one good car in the movie, and despite blowing up two of them, for whatever reason, Hendershot doesn't seem to want to use all the ammunition they have to escape. He's already made the fact that they have it obvious, so I really don't get the point of this. Maybe it's so they can have lines like this?
This thing's over. Your ass is grass, boy. Grass, you hear me?
Make of that what you want, but at some point, being an asshole is not a good enough reason to be stupid. We also find out that Bill did, in fact, rob a grocery store, but Brett doesn't really care at all. They come to the conclusion that the fucking green sky may have something to do with it, meaning if they survive long enough, they'll be fine. Kind of like you'll be fine if you like the video because it's free, and subscribe. They're located down below, and they're almost as obvious as the fucking green sky. They have an idea to escape to an island using sailboats, as the island doesn't allow for any motorized vehicles, but I think they still allow electric knives, and lawnmowers, and machines of other types. Granted, it wouldn't be that bad of a thing, but we've seen a number of fatalities in this so far that machines have nothing to do with. Fucking headphones killed somebody. June decides to go insane just because, I mean, literally out of nowhere, and in an ultimate twist, the salesman is not dead. This is mainly a plot device to get them outside, I'll explain why in a minute, but Hendershot has an opinion on this.
You boys are just as crazy as a couple of rats in a plugged-up shithouse.
What?
Crazy as a couple of rats in a plugged-up shithouse.
Fucked up shithouse. What is a fucked up shithouse? And how do two rats relate? How do they relate? Well, after several hours of trying to mentally figure out what the hell this may mean, I've come to the conclusion that it's random. I don't care how high on cocaine you are, the only way you would write this into any kind of script is if there was some kind of random element involved. There's literally no making sense of this. It may be the most random thing in any movie, period.
I sort of enjoyed it.
So Bill and Curtis head out to save him, using the sewers to avoid being spotted, a scene they felt the need to show us a lot of.
What a great time. Wish I could do that every day.
The reason I say this is a plot device is because Deke is there too, and the salesman kind of just dies after latching onto his leg. But the two get them free, allowing them all to escape, so that's what happens.
Isn't that convenient?
However, this means telling him what happened to his dad falls upon Bill.
Is my dad okay?
Come on.
And by that, I mean let the asshole do it.
Done got scrubbed by one of them big boys out there.
At least he was straight. I mean, who expects drama at this point? I know I shouldn't say this, but never has a kid reacting to his dead dad been so funny.
No.
Hey, no, hang on.
Aside from the fact that it was already obvious, the next day he's blowing fucking bubbles. I mean, the fuck. Between that and the acting, you really got something here.
I sort of enjoyed it.
Still, it is a bit odd the body count hasn't gotten that high yet. And now it has. I mean, he was an obvious bastard, but the way he called everybody by his first name won't be forgotten. Really, why do you do that? Don't know who he was. That's the guy who just said,
What the fuck?
impactful stuff. I'm sure he had a memorable line somewhere. You'd really think they'd all just duck at this point. June gets her third and last moment of speaking, and the machines use Morse code, which Deke just happens to know, to demand they refuel them all or they'll all die. So they agree, leading to a relatively long montage of this, and devise an escape plan to blow up the turret, which they say right in front of it. I guess that one can't understand English. The same one that knew Morse code, and they escape through the sewers as the machines destroy the cafe. But most importantly, the menu gets his comeuppance. They get to the aforementioned boats, but Brad notices an unusually large diamond attached to a dead person's hand, meaning he deserves to die.
Adios, motherfucker!
Yeah, but you're in a boat. I mean, worst case scenario, you jump into the water. Not a lot of danger at hand. So, that's the end. We get our information nobody gives a fuck about, and the perfect line to end off on.
Curtis, when can we get off this boat? You know I get seasick.
And that was Maximum Overdrive. I wouldn't call it Stephen King done right, but I definitely couldn't see hating it. You may have noticed this is an incredibly stupid movie, that's a given, but it doesn't mean it can't be enjoyed. As hinted at earlier, this is the definition of so bad it's good. That's the movie in a nutshell. The acting is beyond overdone, the dialogue is just ridiculous, and the plot is so simplistic it's kind of amazing. Even the scene when they all fill up the trucks has some level of enjoyment, and in a way, you have to appreciate them killing off kids like it's nothing. I mean, the pop machine's one thing, but that's a fucking steamroller. The characters are laughably dumb. Aside from the newlywed couple, I don't mind any of them, and unless you really take this kind of thing seriously, there's no reason not to enjoy Stephen King's attempt at directing a movie. My only question is, why does he hate it so much? Could he really have been that high not to realize what he was doing? I guess he must have been, because Maximum Overdrive may not be an example of King's legendary writing status, but it is something everybody should see at least once. Or maybe twice. I'm the Analyst, and remember kids, if your machine malfunctions, even if it's potentially unsafe, you could still fix it. If you hit it with a hammer, then you can't. So, you've made it to the end. That's an impressive feat indeed. Since you managed that, I guess check out the gaming channel, in which I cover a variety of gaming topics, like analysis videos, such as this one. If you're into that, then press the link in the description. It's that simple.